So Lyle Menendez is going before California's parole board any moment now after more than 3 decades behind bars. Lyle and his brother Eric, they were convicted of brutally murdering their parents back in 1989, and they are both serving 50 years to life in prison. Yesterday, a different board denied Eric parole after a nearly 10-hour-long hearing. So we'll have to wait another 3 years now for his next hearing, his next attempt at this. Chief Correspondent Jonathan Hunt is in Los Angeles. He is tracking all of this for us. And Jonathan, what do we know so far?
Well, good morning, Aisha. Lyle Menendez and his supporters say they remain cautiously optimistic as his parole hearing gets underway, despite their disappointment over the denial of parole to his younger brother Eric after that unusually long hearing at the Richard J. Donovan Correction Center outside San Diego. The parole board members asked Eric Menendez about his behavior in prison, including his use of banned cell phones, his involvement in fights, and his role in what they termed a tax scam involving gang members. But they also focused heavily on his actions on the night in 1989 when he and his brother Lyle murdered their parents at the family's Beverly Hills mansion, focusing in particular on why the brothers killed their mother if it was their father who, as they claimed, was abusing them. Eric told the hearing, quote, "On that night, I saw them as one person. Had she not been in the room, maybe it would have been different." But the murder of Kitty Menendez seemed to weigh heavily on the commissioners, who in denying parole said, quote, "The killing of your mother especially showed a lack of empathy and reason." And they called the shooting of Kitty, during which Eric reloaded his shotgun and fired a second round at her, quote, "devoid of human compassion." Eric Menendez can reapply for parole in 3 years. In the meantime, his supporters still hope California Governor Gavin Newsom might offer clemency, although that seems unlikely after the parole decision. Separately, the brothers are also seeking a new trial. But Aisha, that is a long and winding road. For now, Eric Menendez will remain behind bars. Lyle Menendez will know his fate within hours as his parole hearing gets underway right now. Aisha?
Okay. Jonathan Hunt live for us. Jonathan, thank you. Let's bring in Brian Claypool now, criminal defense attorney. Brian, I want to get your thoughts first on the younger brother who was denied parole. And there's a lot of different things that this parole board looks into, but it's not just the crime that happened, but it's also what they've been up to since, right? And so what did this parole board find about the younger brother?
Yeah, hey, Aisha, great to see you. Yeah, you're spot on. The parole commissioner actually said that he's not focusing so much on the actual crime, the murder of Eric's parents, that he was focusing on behavior in jail. And both brothers had at least 8 infractions since they've been in jail. I think Eric had not 8, Lyle had 9. That was a big deal. And then the other issue he's looking at is, are you taking accountability? Do you have remorse for what you did? And based on what Jonathan just talked about, it didn't appear that Eric did. And I don't really see a different fate for Lyle. Why? Because they're a package deal, Aisha. They both went out and bought the shotgun. They both killed their parents. They both went on shopping sprees. They've both been on bad behavior in prison. And so I don't really see a different outcome here. And just so your viewers know, these two had a risk assessment of moderate. In California, Aisha, only 1 in 5 people get granted parole when they're a moderate risk. So this really shouldn't be a surprise if you're focusing on the facts and the law rather than emotion.
Well, you answered my next question, which was, are they a pair? Because there are 2 different people. They do. They had the opportunity, I guess, to behave differently behind bars, but it sounds like they didn't. They were up to no good while they were behind bars. And ultimately, even if the parole board today denies Lyle parole, ultimately it's up to Gavin Newsom. And this is what Gavin Newsom said about the Menendez brothers back in March. Listen to this.
A lot of people have asked me, have you watched any of these Netflix series? Have you seen any of the dramatization? And the answer is no, I haven't. I've not seen one. I've seen a few clips here and there on social media, and I don't intend to watch these series because I don't want to be influenced by them. I just want to be influenced by the facts.
So what would Gavin Newsom, why would he differ from what the parole board says? I mean, how likely or unlikely is it that he would go a different direction?
Yeah, great question. Before I answer that, I wanted to touch on your prior point. I think Lyle has even a worse chance of getting parole. Why? Because the parole board commissioner, Aisha, made a point of saying, look, Eric, you were 18 and Lyle is 21. You both had a chance to make a conscious decision to walk away, to get out of the house, because you have a great support network. Why didn't you do that? That's not going to bode well for Lyle today, because he was 21 at the time of the murder and could have walked away. As to Gavin Newsom, this is a ticking time bomb, Aisha. I live here in LA. He was very vocal about supporting the Menendez brothers when the resentencing hearings were going on. He didn't say he was going to grant clemency, but he said, I have the chance to do that. But look, if he's going to run for president in 2028, it might behoove him to not grant clemency, because if you do the math, both these Menendez brothers, if they're both denied parole, would be up again, in August of 2028.
I don't know why that doesn't surprise me that he would have said that. Brian Claypool, thanks for joining us on this breaking news, and we'll continue to watch together.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.